once again. I promise you that I'm going to do some videos. Some going to be live, some going to be like this, that screen. They're just going to come to you. Just wanted to talk with you a little bit about a few things about starting your business, and we're going to go from there. Not going to be before you long, so this is a good video to go ahead and share with somebody and let them see what is going on and what it is to be a kingdom influencer. Okay, let me tackle a couple of disclaimers here just to keep myself in the right in the right legal stance. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, tax, or professional advice. Okay, please consult a professional, quality professional before making any business decisions. Okay, the results are not guaranteed, but they did work for me. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, these things are some of the things that work for me. Okay, I want to start by telling you how I got started. I started really early, believe it or not, but I didn't execute it. There's always been in my heart, just like it is in some of your hearts, is to run your own business, right? Or run businesses. I got several of them. And it was always my desire to have several businesses. So when I was a young man, I was one who, instead of watching or writing down Superman or Batman or some of those others, what I was doing was I wanted to be a businessman. I wanted to be a businessman and a police officer. Those are my two things right around the age of nine. Right around the age of 9. But as time went on, as I started to age, God was showing me that I wasn't not going to be a police officer, and I remember He was beginning to tell me that I was going to minister the Word of God, but I also was going to be a businessman. And He began to show me that He anointed me in both areas. Okay, anointed simply means gifted. He gifted me in both of these arenas, so I operate in both arenas. I operate as a businessman as well as a minister, a man of God. This has started when I was a young man. Again, this was something that's always been in my spirit. I was born with it, and not saying that if you wasn't born with it that you cannot run a business, because you may still acquire or have the skills to run your business. So let me start with saying, how many have heard this statement here? And I know it's gonna look a little different because I'm gonna try to fix it where it can turn the right way. But on here it's simply saying, how many of you have ever heard that you need a lot of money to start your business? How many have ever heard that? And what I want to do this morning is bring a little clarity to that. Okay? Yes, it takes a lot of money. Not, I'm sorry, it doesn't take a lot of money. It takes money to start a business, but the cost or the amount of money varies. Okay, it varies because it really depends on what type of business you're trying to start. There's two different models out here. There's, you either are going to do something online or you're going to try to do something in a physical location. If you're trying to do something in a physical location, the cost can be astronomical. It can be a little expensive. Usually, when it comes to online things, it's not as expensive. It could be some cost there, but not as much as it would be in a physical location. So I want to stop and take a minute for you to think about, what is your business model? What are you trying to do? Which way you're trying to go? Understanding and recognizing that your business model is either going to be in sales of product or sales of service. Understanding that and knowing which business model that you want to be in is going to help out a lot. It's going to help you understand what you're trying to do. Okay. Now, if you are looking for a physical location type of business, then that can range from anywhere from tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars based on physical location. So in a sense, this statement is true. It takes a lot of money when it comes to that type of business model. However, online business model where I started at did not cost a lot at all. I started with selling things on eBay. And what I did is I just used whatever I saw that was around that I wasn't using anymore, that may have cost me money in the past, but ain't really something I'm using at the moment. We heard a statement many times where another one man's trash is another man's treasure. So I began to sell this, what I guess what I would consider, I don't want to call it trash, but I would want to say I was selling things that I was no longer using. And then I got good at it. I got to a point where I began to ask other people, what are some things that you got that you wouldn't mind getting rid of that I could sell on eBay? So I began to start getting other people to give me things that I could sell on eBay. The cost to start at eBay wasn't a lot at all. It wasn't. eBay would only charge you after you sell something, so there wasn't no cost there. My biggest cost at that moment, at that time, was actually tape. Yes, packing tape. I didn't even have to pay for boxes. And the reason why I didn't pay for boxes is because I would go to grocery stores or I would go in the neighborhood and I would see where boxes is laying out and I would just grab the boxes and I would just use those boxes, reuse those boxes. So it started there. It started there, and from there it just began to snowball into more and more and more things. Okay, different avenues, different businesses, and someday I will tell you each and every business that I have. Okay. So some of the common expenses of a physical location, which I have a physical location now, but I still sell online. My physical location, I had to look into a few things. Here's a few things that you have to look at if you're looking at a physical location. If that's your business model where you have to have a physical location, it's not strictly online, then these are a few things that you got to look at. You got to look at these expenses. Okay? Common expenses are rent, equipment, marketing, payroll, um, normal lights, gas, water bills. I mean, different things of that nature. Paper, printer paper, machines. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into an office setting for you to operate a business. If you are in the daycare, you got toys and stuff that you got to buy. If you are into medical, I mean, to the point where you are gotten, let's say you want to do a house, a halfway house, or something of that nature. There are certain things that you got to put inside of the house. There's a lot of things that go into physical location businesses. Okay, they're not bad businesses; they're great businesses actually. But you have to count up the cost in that. Okay. Um, the what I got written on the board here is, again, you need a lot of money to start your business. Well, one of the things that I want you to not look at is the actual money part of it, but look at start your business. We got to get started somewhere. Okay. What stopped me for a very long time was I had the mentality that some of you have right now, that it was going to cost me too much to start a business. So I didn't want to start a business. I didn't jump out there to do anything because I was so concerned about the cost of the business. Well, as time went on, I realized that it wasn't about the cost, it was about the start. The, if I focus on the cost alone, I would never start. And many of us is right there. We're so focused on the cost of it that we don't want to start. But you got to start somewhere. Let me help you in both areas of where you can start at. When it comes to online or whether you do physical, either way you decided to go, whether you sell a product or service, it takes, the principal thing is knowledge. Knowledge extremely is important. And why knowledge is so important is because I got to know what I'm doing. I got to be better than other people, especially if I'm creating something or I'm doing something or I'm selling something that already exists. So if I'm selling a product or I'm doing something that is not unique, not different, not groundbreaking, I have to understand and recognize that I got competition right off the back. And for many of us, what a lot of people don't do, and when it comes to building a business, is getting the knowledge it takes in order to run that business, or to understand your product, or to understand your service. Wisdom is the key thing. Wisdom is the first thing that we must get if we're going to become great at what we do. I'm always researching. I'm always learning because I want to get really good. I want to beat out my competition because everything I got is not unique. It's not groundbreaking. But if I'm going to beat out my competition, if I'm going to be ahead in this game, then what I have to learn to do is to get ahead by getting more in my head. Does that make any sense? Many people get into business, they become lazy and they become content. They say to themselves, I'm making enough money here or I'm doing enough here, so I'm going to sit still. Well, when I got on online with eBay, I studied eBay all day, every day. I would look at other resellers. I would see what they were doing. I was reading different things on eBay. I was learning more about sales. Now I was already in sales in my natural job, so sales was something that was always in me. But I've learned how to become even a better salesperson, even when it came to service. I mean, when it came to my personal business, I had to learn. I invested in books. I invested in a Kindle. A Kindle is a machine, or a book. I call it a book machine, but it's not a book machine. It's just a tablet or a electronic device that you can download books inside of. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be able to go anywhere and pull up a book and begin to read. Even if I was in a doctor's office, whether I was waiting on a lunch line, it don't matter where I was at. I wanted to be able to flip open this book and begin to read and get more and more knowledge everywhere I was. So again, the first thing that I'm going to learn how to do is become knowledgeable. Okay? Now, it was a lot different than it was back in those days. And in the older days, when I first got into it, the internet was not as powerful as it is now. With AI, Google, ChatGPT, all of these different things now, I did not have access to the information like I do now. Having the information at your fingertips now, you have no excuse of why not gain as much information as possible. Okay? So if there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and that wealth of knowledge will cost you nothing. A lot of those sites I just mentioned, Google, ChatGPT, a lot of them are free. Now, you want to go advanced ChatGPT, of course, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but it'll cost you a little something. But in most cases, you can type something in there and get some information that you need. The question is, how much information are you trying to do, or do you already feel that you know everything that you need to know about your business? That will be your first mistake. If you feel that you know everything there is to know, then you made the first mistake. As I told you, I am gifted in ministry as well as in business. So I'm going to go with a scripture. Luke 14:28 simply says, for which of you intending to build a tower or build a house or build a business or build anything, build your marriage, build whatever, don't sit down first. Count up the cost, study, understand, learn, get wisdom, whether he has enough to finish his project or not. I've never started a business without understanding all stages of that business, or at least trying to understand all stages of that business. I know that in sales that you're going to have some slow days. I know in sales you're going to have some days where everything's going to go well. I know some days you're going to have bigger amounts than other amounts. Some days you'll sell something and some days you won't. Same thing in service. Sometimes you will have clients, sometimes you won't have clients. And you have to know what to do in the prosperous times as well as the lean times. How do you sustain yourself with a business that may not produce within the first couple of years? These are some good questions that you must ask yourself. What is your demographics? Who are you targeting? Are you targeting older people, mid-aged people, young people? What are you targeting? Who are you going after? What are you selling? And what's the demand of the thing that you're selling, or the demand of your service? What area is the best area to have put this in? You always hear you heard this all your whole life. Location, 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 right? So what area should I put this in? Should I put this in this type of area or this type of area? Will my presence only be known online? Or do I want a presence in a physical place where someone can come in and see me? What is my marketing skills, and what areas do I need to market this business in? What do I need to do in order to get my business out there? Who's going to know about me if I don't advertise it? And then on top of that, why should they do business with me? A lot of questions that you need to ask yourself when it comes to your business. What platforms should I sell on? One, two, three, four, five. Should I sell on multiple platforms, or I should focus on one? Should I get good at one and then go to two, or should I start right off with all five? These are things that you have to sit down and count. So in today's English, if Jesus was speaking to us about this scripture right here, he will be telling us wisdom is the first thing that we need to do. Wisdom, then planning, then it comes to responsibilities of it. So the first thing I'm going to do again is learn my business model. Whatever it is that I'm into, whatever it is I'm trying to get into, or whatever I am doing, I have to learn that better than my competition. I got to take the time to learn how to do what it is that I promised to do. Whether it's a product or whether it's my service, wherever it is, I'm got to get really good at showing you that I am the one that you want to do business with. That's not always easy because the guy down the street may have been doing it longer than you, or the young lady up the road have been doing it longer than you. But one thing happens in business that I learned over the last 20 some odd years. I've learned in business that most people that do business usually stale out. They usually get to a point where they stop learning. One of the things I don't want you to do, kingdom influencers, my people, I do not want you to ever stop learning. Forever be a student. Forever be a student of what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. Okay? So number one is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to learn my business, so I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to rush my project or my business until I learn it very much. I need enough confidence to go out here and start my business. If I don't have the reason why I don't have enough confidence is because I don't have all of the information. If once I get all of the information, it becomes easy now to step out here and start the business. So I got to focus on how much. If I got to focus in on getting all of the information. So I'm not going to rush a project or a business. You ever notice when God builds us or do things with us, it seems as if he never rushes. It's not that he don't know. It's not that because he's God, right? But at the same time, he don't rush. There's something about being patient when it comes to business or come to anything that you're doing. Waiting for the right time to strike. Waiting for the right time to go into it. Waiting for the right time to invest, right? So we got to know when to do it. So I'm going to sit down. The next thing I'm going to do is sit down and strategize. I'm going to strategize or come up with a plan in order to execute what I'm trying to get done. What is I'm trying to accomplish? Is it just money? If it's just money, you are already in trouble. Because there's going to come a time where your business won't make money. And you have to be able to survive through those moments. What do I do when it's not making money? And that cannot be my number one focus. My focus got to be on either my service or my product. I got to know my product very well, or I got to know my service very well, either one, whichever model you're in, so that I can become best at that, and then the money will follow. Money is not the guys. Anybody that makes tons of money, they'll tell you that was never the focus. The next thing I want to do is evaluate my resources. I'm going to evaluate my resources, endurance, and consequences. Okay? Very, very important. Again, I told you I looked through my business in stages. So I'm looking at it from the end. So I say to myself, when it's time to open a new business, I already have in my mind, if this business do not work, what do I do now? If I invested, let's say that God told me to create something and I invested a few $100 in it. If I put those few $100 in it, will that break me if I don't get it back? Or if I use that couple $100 and I cannot get it back right away, would that make things difficult for me? These are things that we have to consider when it comes to running a business. We have to always remember and think to ourselves, maybe this is not the timing for it, or can I not lose any money? Those that's in the stock market will tell you all the time it's a gamble. But many of them, no matter how much resources or not resources, how much research they do for the stock, the first thing in their mind is, if I lose this amount of money, would I be okay? So the question to you is, if you lose a certain amount of money in this, or you have to put this amount of money in this and hold it for a while till you can see an investment or see a growth in that money, would you still be okay? Could you survive without making any money? It's a very good question. Could your business survive without making any money? Good question, right? I'm going to evaluate my resources. Okay, I'm going to evaluate, where's the money coming from, where's the product coming from, where's the knowledge coming from. Where I want to know my resources concerning my business. Okay, then I got to have some endurance. Endurance is very important. I have to be in it for the long haul. What if it doesn't produce within the first 3 years? Am I in it for the long haul, or I'm just doing it now because I hear everybody that does it is rich? What if you don't be rich right away? Could you still survive? Endurance. And then the consequences. The consequences. What happens if I ship something to you and it breaks in the mail? What happens if I send you something and I offer a return and the person returned me back something that I did not send them? What happens if I'm in a physical location and the building get robbed? What is the consequences if I have a manager that's stealing from me? All of these things are consequences that we must already have the answers to when it comes to business. These things helps us, so when we do cross these bridges or get to these bridges, we know what to do. So research, 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 research. Learn, 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 so that you can know as much as you can about your business. What areas that I need to work on, what areas I need to focus in on, is understanding, knowledge. Okay? Make sure that you can finish what you start. Make sure you can finish it or don't start it. Now, I know I just told you to start your business, but make sure that you can start it. Now, those that has an income and you trying to start a business, now you're in a good place, because I did have an income when I started my business. It's nice to have the income that you can live off of, because your business is not something you may live off in the beginning. So I had money coming in from my secular job or my regular job, but I was working in my business at the same time. The question is what income that you got coming in, and is this enough to sustain you through those times where your business is not doing enough? I got to work it until I get to a place where I no longer need my secular or my regular income, so that I can just focus in on my business entirely. But until then, I have to focus on my business part-time. Now, I hear a lot of people say that they don't have time. So a lot of times we think that since I don't have the time to do it, since I don't have the time to focus in on my business, then I should not have a business. Well, not necessarily. I would simply say to you that you have to learn how to manage your time. You have to find those moments, those seconds, those hours, those minutes where you can invest a little bit into your business. Some days you can invest a lot, some days you can invest a little. It all depends on how your time is that day. But you should always give time to invest in your business and in yourself. And when I'm talking about investing, again, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about investing mentally. The more you get headstrong, the more you put up here, the more you'll see your business flourish and flow and grow the way God wanted to grow. Okay? So the cost depends. So back to our statement again, does it take a lot of money to start a business? So the cost again depends on the business model, right? We know that. We just went through that. In other words, what your business entails, right? It all depends on where you're starting and what you're trying to get done. Again, your business model is usually in two categories. It's either in sales of service or sales of or sales of a product. Either sales of service, you're either selling your service or you're selling a product. Okay? Either one. Now the key word in that is both sales. That's the key part. So if I'm gonna get good in business, I gotta get good in sales. Now some people may say, "Well, I'm no good in sales." Well, let me tell you something. Your business is gonna require you to get good in sales. You're gonna have to be able to be very convincing. If you need an SBA loan, you're gonna have to be very convincing on paper. Sometimes they'll want to interview you. Sometimes some investors will want to talk to you. They want to know what you're about. What sell me, in other words. If you have a product, they want to know why should I buy your product and not that product, even if that product is cheaper than yours. If I decided to drop my price to compete with this person to sell their product because he's looking at their product, then I don't have a lot of faith in my product, or I don't have a lot of faith in my sales skills. So I have to get really good in sales. So there are several things that we can do to get good in sales. First of all, get you some books. Get you some books on sale. If you cannot get a Kindle at the moment, get a library card. Library card doesn't cost much or nothing. If it costs at all, I don't know. I haven't had one in years. But let's say that you want to get some books and you want to learn about sales. Well, you got to learn about sales, whether you are either selling products or service. You got to learn how to sell. And this is very important for you to do to get really good in business. So I know I said a lot of information today, and I threw out a few things, and we'll slow some things down later on, and I'll give you some more information on how you can become great at what you do. This is just some information to help you get started. The main key, again, is getting started. But how do I get started? I'm going to get started by learning. I'm going to get started by investing as little as possible in head knowledge. And once I get head knowledge, everything else will work out. All right? This is our first Kingdom Moving. I'm sorry, I keep saying Kingdom Moving because Kingdom Moving was one of my companies. But my Kingdom Influencers lessons, and I hope you guys got something out of it. And as time go on, we'll go in depth more, and I'll show you more, and we'll go for. I will talk about LLCs. We'll talk about taxes. We'll talk about SBA loans. We'll talk about a lot of different things that can help you start, even grow. We'll even talk about scaling your business. I'll tell you more about my businesses, the businesses that God has given me, and we'll share more for you so that you can grow and become the kingdom influencer that God wants you to be. Amen. God bless you. We'll see you next time.